held the flashlight. As the song ends, they all bow to the audience. All right, go ahead and turn in your that paper handout that I gave you. Okay, the handout that Jalen gave you. Turn in. So like turn in the handout. Oh, wait. Like you're gonna turn the pages. Oh. Yes. You're on the first page. Wait, but you just said. You didn't let me finish. Y'all interrupted because y'all were like, turn it in. Goofs. You're looking at the first page. Okay? Everybody sit up tall and straight. Somebody read me card 2. Let me see, actually. Make this easy for everybody. Oh, I did actually. Pulled your name. Go ahead, Denia. The first one.
Today we will read chapter 19 of the lesson before dying to your understanding about the symbolism in this chapter by rereading sections of text and answering questions.
Very good. Okay. He's not here.
Where's that dude? That next to me? What's his name? Ham? Pablo.
I'm recording. Yeah. Annabelle, read the next one.
Can students determine the lessons that Glenn and Jefferson are learning about humanity? Can students identify quotations that support the claim?
Very good. All right. We will read chapter 19, which we have already done. From a lesson before dying together to establish our understanding. When we are done reading, we will determine how symbolism is used to develop the theme. Does anyone know what symbolism means?
Yep.
Tell me.
Symbolism is like the symbols they throw out to help you understand.
Okay, so symbolism is the idea that things represent other things. Okay? So I want you to think now, since we've already read chapter 19. How do the events in this chapter relate to Jefferson's situation? So what's going on in this chapter? Go ahead.
My buddy Grant, he gotta be in it. It's like they trying to help him get in the move. He not trying to get in the move, man. He's trying to fight it back. He talking about I don't see the change. Like he fighting back. People still trying to help him get in the mood, but just like they helping Jefferson trying to get in the mood. He's a man, understand, trying to help him understand. Jefferson doesn't understand it right now. He's gonna find out he has to be the change. How is she gonna change Jefferson? He doesn't want to change.
Taylor, what do you mean in the
Man, be quiet and listen.
I'm asking a question.
I agree with her because I'm not really quite sure what you're trying to say either. And that's okay. Just explain it. Explain it to me a little bit better. Like exactly what you're trying to say, Jalen.
When you say when they're trying to get Grant
He's not trying to feel that. He's not feeling the play or feeling the story that they're telling him.
Oh, you're trying to say they want him to enjoy what's going on.
They want him to understand what they're doing. They want him to be engaged.
Okay.
But he's not engaged. Vivian said change. Something's changed. He doesn't see a change. But Jefferson, he doesn't see a change either. They're trying to make him get into he's a man. Trying to make him understand. They're trying to make him understand too. They're trying to make Grant understand. But Grant's trying to change somebody else. He's not changed. They're literally the same. They're stuck up. They don't want to do better at the beginning, but at the end, they're into it.
Okay. All right. What about, let's see. So how do the events in this chapter relate to Jefferson's situation? I keep pulling people that aren't here. Morgan, how do the events in this chapter relate to Jefferson's situation? Huh? Okay, can anybody come up with anything?
Wait,
How do the events? Okay, go for it.
So you know how the kids are having trouble with their grammar, and Grant feels like he's not helping them at all.
Okay.
He feels the same way with Grayson.
Okay. So, what is Grant's reaction to the program?
It's the same.
Okay, he didn't like it. Same every year. He didn't enjoy it.
It's not gonna change. It's never gonna change.
So, what do you think that do you remember? Do you remember earlier in the novel when we were talking about the vicious cycle?
I got you.
Okay.
Explain.
Yep.
You know what he said? Nothing's ever gonna change. You see what I'm talking about? The understanding. Nothing's ever gonna change. Jefferson, he doesn't care because nothing's ever gonna change for him. He's like he's saying he's still gonna die. Everybody's gonna do the same thing because the cycle's gonna keep repeating. And nothing next to him is gonna. You feel me? They gonna repeat the same cycles, and he feels that nothing he does is gonna change. So why should he even pay attention? And it's the same way Grant feels.
Okay.
Nothing is gonna change. So I really don't see why I come. Jefferson, I don't see why he come because nothing's gonna change, stuff like that. That's the cycle.
Okay. So, what parts of the program seem to connect to Jefferson? Not to Grant, but to Jefferson. Okay, go for it.
See, it connects to Jefferson because the parts of the program because.
Hang on, turn this way to me because I can hear you.
It connects to Jefferson. You know when they said Jesus was like, Joseph was like a nonchalant person. He was like being nonchalant, but Jefferson's the same way, nonchalant. He's like, he doesn't care. And like everything they said is like, he still says it doesn't matter. And then the way Joseph was in the end, it really didn't matter to him.
Okay. What else? What other parts of the program seem to connect to Jefferson? Annabelle? Because who did Grant tell the children that they were dedicating the program to? Jefferson. Okay. So, how do you think that some of that program connected to Jefferson?
I mean, didn't they get him that present for Jefferson?
What about they trying to put the Lord in there, man? They're trying to be like, my white church, they trying to make it under the club. Use that like, how they like tributes to people. Like, if people are not there, you still want them to be in recognition. Like, you still want them to people to know this is for them. Just we're doing all this to make sure that man, come on, hold on. It's like your recognition of or this for or to he's like a present for him. He's not literally receiving it, but he knows that it's going on. And the kids want to do something, to help, to help figure it out.
Now, did he say that this was the most crowded program that the program had never been as crowded as it was this time around? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next thing. What, babe? No, we're just discussing right now. Okay. So I want you to look at the 9th card, I think. No, 7th card. 7th card. Okay. Jalen, will you read that card to us, please? 7th.
React to chapter 19 from lesson 4 down by writing your response to the question you're learning of. Then share your response with class. How did the children pay
Homage.
Man, this is blurred out right here.
That's okay.
Jefferson during the Christmas song.
They said what? They got him a gift. Okay, what else did they do?
They gave him this. They gave my boy a shout out. And it was like a lesson learned in the show. And the play was literally for Jefferson.
Okay. How else would they have paid homage to him?
Trying to give him.
So what about letting their families know that they dedicated the Christmas program to Jefferson? Because Grant told them to take this home with you. Okay. Do you think that that could be a sign of support from the community? That it was they had never had that many people there.
Yeah.
And they were all there to support the children, and they were there to support Jefferson in turn. Okay. What was his gift that they got him?
Wool sweater and wool socks.
Wool sweater and wool socks. And what is significant about it being the only present under the tree at the end of the program? Do you think there's any significance to that?
Yeah. Showing somebody cared about him.
Showing that somebody cares about him? What about the fact that
showing this small tree.
Small tree?
Like he's something big, you know?
Yeah.
Ain't like he that big. It just makes nothing. It's a something.
Nothing in
the
the
pine tree is small. It was nothing.
All right.
And then it's showing how the tree is something.
Gotcha.
What?
Preach. I thought you said coach leach. Do you think that it also, like, they gave everything that they had?
Yes. All their money.
They gave all their money. Who else in the story? They were obviously talking about who in their program? The birth of Jesus. So what do the wise men and shepherds bring? They bring gifts and they bring presents. Do you think that that could be symbolic of anything, that they're giving Jefferson the best and their support for him? Okay.
He called her this year.
Okay. I'm not really sure what that means, but that's okay.
He said, look cold.
Okay. So we are going to annotate pages 148 and 1 through 151 of chapter 19, focusing on possible symbols to deepen our understanding of the development of theme and character. Okay. So I want you to, obviously you're going to annotate 148 to 151, and you're going to have, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to do this. Okay. And I want you to think about how does, who's the author of this novel? Ernest Gaines. How does he use symbolism in this chapter? And then what theme is he developing throughout the use of these symbols? Okay. So what is symbolism again?
Something that shows symbols through something else.
Okay. The idea that things represent other things. So it's symbolic of something. So have you ever heard someone say that's symbolic?
Yeah.
Never heard someone say that?
That's what you heard somebody teach me what to say.
So if someone says that that's symbolic,
Maybe
what do you think that means?
it reminds them of something. It's like it gives you an idea of something that's just a lot similar to that.
Say that again now?
It's like it gives you an idea of something similar to that.
Okay.
Represents something.
Very good. So one thing could mean something else, kind of. So does that make sense? Can you think of an example? Something example.
Cats. It means don't touch your feet. I mean, not bad. Symbolic. It means they greed over. It means be greed over.
Okay. That's actually not far off. So what do you think that a rainbow is symbolic of? Happiness, peace, hope.
Oh, it means like good after bad.
So what would, if someone tells you, oh, that penny means heads up, pick it up. What do you think that that's symbolic of?
Good luck.
Love? Okay. What if you see someone wearing red, white, and blue? What do you think that they're patriot? What did you say? 4th of July. But whenever we're celebrating 4th of July, what are we celebrating? I'm looking for a word that starts with P. Patriotism. Yeah. You almost got it. So if someone goes, green light means go. What does a wedding ring symbolize?
Marriage. Happiness.
And commitment, matrimony. What do you? If someone gave you a red rose, if your boyfriend gave you a red rose, what do you think? Or if as a boy, if you gave your girlfriend a red rose, you would really be like, okay, if it's Valentine's Day and they gave you a red rose, you're thinking, oh, he loves me.
Why only on Valentine's?
Well, I mean, I was just because she was like, why would you give this to me? So I was trying to say.
You can do it whenever.
I agree, but I was going to say on Valentine's Day you're expecting something. Okay, so now do you understand? Wait, what? Break a leg. What does that mean?
Good luck.
Wishing someone good luck. Yeah.
Unless you actually want to.
So now do you understand a little bit better what symbolism is?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how does Gaines use symbolism in this section of the chapter? Go ahead, Allie.
On page 148, when they're talking about the pine tree, it wasn't great, but it was a pine. It was beautiful.
Okay. What else? Hang on. I know. Hang on. What else?
When the person that had the flashlight, using the flashlight star, they kept moving it as if they were tired.
Okay. What do you? Okay. Go ahead, Jay.
You know, when they said, he said, thanks for the blessings and the ones who are pressured for the ones who are locked up. He's talking about all them, he said the blessings. You know, he's talking about all the kids there, everybody being able to be there. It symbolizes something to me. It's like, it shows, he thinks everybody, people don't normally come there, but for everybody to come out, that was all that they were able to do, and how they were able to make nothing into something. All those were blessings, and they liked it.
Okay. What about on page 148 where he's Grant is talking about the different songs, and he talks about how well they were sung, and then he talks about that you have to listen to Little Town of Bethlehem, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. He's kind of cynical about the things that the songs, right? Do you think that could be symbolic of how he feels towards his own faith? And so if he's talking about how he dislikes hearing these songs or how they're not sang very well, every time that something comes up about faith or anything like that, there's always a negative connotation to it whenever Grant is talking about it. Do you think that if it was someone, okay, so if we were to read this in Miss Emma's point of view or in Taunt Lou's point of view, do you think that it would be spoken of a little bit different whenever they speak of, whenever they speak of anything that has to do with faith and religion? Okay, so if it was spoken about in Jefferson's point of view, do you think that it would also be spoken about a little bit differently? So it's just kind of how they see themselves, right? Okay, so do you think what theme do you think is being developed in this chapter? What does he talk about whenever the chapter first starts, like who all is there? So pretty much what? The whole community is there, right?
Correct.
So if the whole community is there, do you think that that means that that's kind of a theme that he's trying to develop, that everyone is there supporting everyone in the theme of community? So if you were to say that our community came together in support of something, I think that as a school, we came together for the little boy.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, right. So that showed a togetherness, right? So that's also something that is being brought up in this chapter, that the community all came together for who? Jefferson. Because they dedicated the program to him. They bought him gifts. Okay? They all knew what was going on with Jefferson, right? But they all wanted to come together, even though that there had been the what does it say, the first part of the chapter, that it had rained so much that they couldn't even go to work, right? Okay, so if it's raining so much that they couldn't even go to work and they couldn't even drive down the roads because it was so much. Huh?
They want to see that thing.
What?
They wanted to see that.
They wanted to see that. They wanted to be there to support, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. All right, so I'm going to read the paragraph on page 151 because this is on card 13. Okay, so it says, develop your response to the questions about chapter 19 from A Lesson Before Dying, then share your response with the class. So these are the questions that we're going to be thinking of. After rereading the paragraph on page 151 that begins, she was right, I was not happy. Explain how watching the Christmas program has affected Grant. How is this different from the reaction the reader expects from Grant? And how does the Christmas program remind Grant of Jefferson's situation? Okay, 151. Everybody turn to 151. Everybody there? All right, she was right. I was not happy. I'd heard the same carols all my life, seen the same little play, with the same mistakes in grammar. The minister had offered the same prayer as always, Christmas or Sunday. The same people wore the same old clothes and sat in the same places. Next year it would be the same, and the year after that, the same again. Vivian said things were changing. But where were they changing? Okay, so explain how watching the Christmas program has affected Grant. So how is this, him watching the Christmas program, has it affected him? So what did we say a while ago that we talked about earlier in the book? That what? Vicious cycle. You ever heard somebody say, if nothing ever changes, then nothing ever changes? So if nothing ever changes, nothing's ever going to change. Do you understand what that means? I mean, it pretty much spells it out that if I was to sit here and do the same exact thing every single day and not change anything about what I do, and you guys don't learn anything. If I never change the way that I teach or approach a classroom, do you think that it's going to be the same thing every year? Is it the same kids are not going to learn?
Man, the same kids going to be
right. The same kids will be over in my class every year. Yeah. So if nothing ever changes, then nothing ever changes. So it's kind of the way that that Jefferson feels, right? Grant feels, right? Okay, so how is this different from the reaction that you as a reader expect from Grant? Did you, whenever we were reading this, did you feel like Grant was going to think they did a good job with the program? Yeah.
I thought he was going to be happy.
You thought he was going to be happy? Yeah. What made you think that?
Because
it was a great play.
they were doing a good job.
They're kids, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Kids. Man.
Yeah.
Give them some slack, Grant.
Right. And the Christmas program brought in, we keep talking about that everybody came. So if a lot of people are there, hey, y'all sit up straight. If a lot of people are there, do you think that would make somebody happy? Like
make somebody try their hardest.
But you would think probably too that if a lot of people are there supporting you and supporting your kids, that you've done a good thing, right? So instead of all of this, Grant realizes that the program is no different that year from any other year previously, and that it's probably not going to be any different any year in the future.
Grant got the same, man, he teaches the same as his old teacher. Grant don't change no way he acts. He's the same old person. How he gonna talk?
Okay. So, how does the Christmas program remind Grant of Jefferson's situation?
You think that nothing
Nothing's gonna happen. It's the same.
Okay. Everything's just staying the
You
same?
gotta know the outcome. It's gonna be the same outcome.
Okay. So, Jefferson's death sentence, do you think it's symbolic of how things are just not improving? Yeah. Because he says at the end of that paragraph, Vivian said things were changing, but where were they changing? He doesn't see anything changing. So it reminds him of Jefferson's death. Everything that he's doing, he feels like it's for naught. That nothing is going to change. All right, y'all sit up. Everybody sit up. We're almost done with this part. All right, so we're going to read chapter 20, okay? While we're reading chapter 20, I want you to think of a couple of things. So, how does the tone change in the last 4 pages? How is tone developed, and what is the tone of this chapter? Okay? Okay, so what is the tone of this chapter? Sad. Come on. Haley. Tyson. Tap Haley. Okay, so sad. What else? Worried. Okay, scared. Why do you think that happens in this chapter? Why do you think that they all of a sudden the tone changes in the chapter? Yes.
Because they were finally figuring out like the date of where it's going, right?
Yeah, it kind of makes everything real. Like, you know, throughout the whole book that this is going to happen, but whenever they give you an exact date and time, it automatically makes everything real.
Really? I gotta read.
You got a what?
I got a rewind. Did you know they?
I'm recording, so.
I got you.
Okay.
At first event when they came down from church, he was like, "Well, what are you doing?" And then when he got, he was like, "What do you need?" And stuff like nonchalant, like, "I don't know what you need." And when they said he wanted him, he was like surprised, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go down there," and then still nonchalant. But when he got in front of the man, he was like shocked, like a little bit shocked when they said a date time. But then came disappointment. He's how you gonna take another man's life?
Right. So who does he point out that kind of they have no thought for that they're taking someone's life? Who does he point out that they don't think about that? The white people. Yeah. Because what does he say in there? That 12 white men made the decision that a black man must die, and 1 white man set the date and time, but they consulted no black people. Why is that significant?
Because we all should be equal.
Okay.
But they put us at a Lord.
Okay, go ahead, Haley, and then I'm going to get to you. Okay, go ahead.
Because it's biased.
Okay. So, yeah. If you were going to say that something was not biased, then
I was
you would.
gonna say them people being racist.
Yeah. So, what does Grant feel whenever he hears the sheriff on the phone with the doctor? Because they're kind of talking kind of nonchalantly, right? Acting like he's not there. I don't know what you're doing with that. You're killing me with that noise. Does it bother him that Sheriff Guidry feels nothing?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
He's now starting to feel for Jefferson.
Yeah, he feels for Jefferson because he knows that Jefferson's about to die.
And he knows Jefferson is being treated unfairly.
Right.
But he's really got to know Jefferson said, "I didn't do anything."
Okay. So, how do these events that are happening in this chapter developing the tone? Okay.
They develop it because when they develop it, it's like the sequence of events, like it's going up, like it changes the mood, it's like you can visualize what's happening. Like when they tell him and he goes up there in the river, in the magazine, but events that happen is it's like when it tells you, it's like boom, it's like it just happened.
Okay. So we're going to finish talking about this tomorrow, but so Grant learns that a date has been set for Jefferson's execution. The date has been set for the second Friday after Easter. So why is that significant that it's the second? Hey, who releases you? No, time out. Why is everybody getting up and walking around? Well, you've still got 10 minutes left in this class. So everybody needs to take a seat. Okay, so everybody needs to take a seat. Okay, we've still got 10 minutes left. So we're still talking about what's going on in chapter 20. Okay, why is it significant that it takes place the second Friday after Easter?
They don't want
to upset the Catholic population, right? So the execution cannot take place during Lent, and then he learns about the execution date in the front rooms of the P Show house, and it's the first time he's actually been in the front house, right? He learns that Jefferson is already aware of the information, but Guidry, the sheriff, is worried that Jefferson is going to become agitated, right? So he thinks that Jefferson appearing agitated, this is Guidry I'm talking about. He's concerned that Jefferson appearing agitated at his execution will cause Guidry to look cruel. Okay, y'all listen. So he calls the doctor because Reverend Ambrose is concerned that Miss Emma may need a doctor, especially after hearing the news about Jefferson. And while on the phone, we learn as a reader that the doctor isn't really the doctor is concerned about going to see Miss Emma, and he says, "You're not going to mess up your what?
shoes.
Right. You're not going to mess up your white shoes. The roads to the quarter may not be passable, and he does not want to get his shoes dirty." The events in this chapter develop an angry and bitter tone. Grant is angry and bitter because of the chapter's events. He sees great contradiction in the attitudes of the white community, Guidry and the doctor. So contradiction means what? Huh? Okay. So it's very different from the way that the black community is going to see what's going on with Jefferson, right? So that's a big contradiction between the two communities. The community is concerned about the execution of an innocent man happening too close to a religious holiday. Guidry is concerned that he will appear cruel if an innocent man becomes agitated before he's executed. The doctor is worried about his shoes getting dirty when an innocent man has been sentenced to death. And Grant is frustrated because he sees the big picture and none of it makes sense, right? Okay. All right, so we're going to finish talking about this tomorrow.